Kanye West's new album is called Jesus is King. The album itself is very overtly religious, and West himself says he is now in the service of God. This is going to have a massive and profound effect on politics in this country. Not only is Kanye West a MAGA hat-wearing Trump supporter, he's announced he's going to be making his Yeezys here in the United States, and his new album, as he says it, is preaching the gospel in service to God. Dare I say it, based on what we've seen from Kim Kardashian, Sia, and Kanye, it looks like he's creating a very Christian pop culture force, as some have described it. Now, I want to start with this story. I want to go through the implications of Kanye West coming out, preaching the gospel. It's going to reignite Christianity. It's going to make it popular because he's got a ton of fans. But I want to start with this story. Kanye West says supporting Trump is God's practical joke to all liberals. I must admit, I laughed a lot when I heard him say that. Now, there's a lot to go through, and there's a lot to talk about in terms of religion in this country and how Kanye West is going to impact 2020 in support of Trump, and how he may be this ace in the hole for conservatives. Because not only does Trump have the booming economy and the analytics showing he's going to win, but Kanye West, man, love him or hate him, the dude's got power and influence. And he is going to bring a ton of his younger fans to the side, whatever it might be. The first step in making someone, a young person, get up and vote, it's celebrity, it's pop culture, it's being cool. And I'm going to say it, man, conservatives are just not cool. I'm not trying to be mean, but let's be real. For the longest time, pop culture has always been on the left. All of the cool punk rock stuff and celebrity, it's always anti-Trump. But now you have not just a pop culture force, but quite possibly one of the most influential, if not the most influential celebrity musician right now. You could argue about Lady Gaga and whoever else. There are people with more followers than him, but Kanye West influence, okay, meeting with Trump, sparking these controversies, and a national and a worldwide trend with this new album, it's going to have an impact. So let's read this story. Before we get started, make sure you head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address, but the best thing you can do is just share this video. I'm competing with these big networks. YouTube is deranking our channels. It's hard to know what I can or can't do anymore, but you can really help out just by sharing it. I can't guarantee YouTube is going to decide to show this to anybody. You can also subscribe, comment, like. You know what? We'll see how long this YouTube thing lasts. Let's be real. Let's read the first story because I think it's funny. Kanye West says supporting Trump is God's practical joke to all liberals. Kanye West, they just reiterate the title. He says, this shows you that God is hilarious. God has got a sense of humor. Liberals love art, right? And now I am undoubtedly, the greatest human artist of all time. It's just not even a question anymore at this point. It's just a fact, right? West told Apple Music's Zane Lowe on Beats One in an interview released Thursday. So for the greatest artist in human existence, to put a red hat on was God's practical joke on all liberals like, no, not Kanye, he continued. He used himself as an example of someone saying something that culturally they're not supposed to say. I gotta hand it to Kanye West, man. That is a whole new level of narcissism. I'm not trying to be mean, but come on, the greatest artist, the greatest human art, the greatest artist in human existence, bold statement. But then to come out and say it's God's joke with them saying, no, not Kanye, dude's got confidence. And I'll say this, man. I am a secular liberal type, but I'm moderate. You know, I did grow up Catholic for a little bit and then moved away, and I am not overly theistic in any way. But here's the thing. We had a period in this country where, you know, Christian conservatives were very, very powerful, and they had a lot to say. And that's kind of changed now. Trump isn't this overtly religious person for the most part. We're at a point now where pop culture and media is very much against this Christian norm. It's shifted greatly. Kanye is kind of pushing back on that. So I'll say this, man, and I mean this is true. This is true for any religion. Okay, you have a right to practice what you believe without being insulted or smeared. We can argue ideas. You know, someone can criticize your idea. I think, you know, if you want to have a belief structure or whatever, that's your right in this country. This country was founded partly on freedom of religion. It takes a lot of guts to do what Kanye West is doing, to come out and push back on the major left-wing establishment, because as much as the left doesn't want to admit how much power they have, they look to the government and say the Republicans control everything. Okay, that's true. But culturally, and politics is downstream from culture, it is the establishment is overly left-wing and moving further and further left. Kanye West, dare I say it, is making Christian conservatism cool. And that's not my opinion. I'm not saying I think it's cool necessarily. I have respect for him for being brave, but think about it, man. All these young people who are not politically initiated, who respect and look up to Kanye West for all of his faults, whatever you may think of him. Okay, the dude's accomplished a lot of things. He's a celebrity. You've got the Kardashians, okay? They are a political powerhouse, a cultural powerhouse. And you're going to have these young people listening to what Kanye has to say. That is power and influence. I do think there's a lot that Kanye's doing that's going to be a big positive, a massive positive force on society. And I can't speak to everything he's done, but I will stress one point as he talks about in an interview. It's going viral right now. He talks about the culture in hip hop to do illegal things, to go to jail and things like that, then call for prison reform. And he's like, nah. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I don't think it's always about race. I think it's about class. But having someone like Kanye, who's going to have influence in an area like mine, telling people to be responsible, to do good, that's going to have a profound and positive impact. Because I know a lot of people who are young and lost. And if Kanye can only bring about, some simple, mentality and culture, that's fine, where it's like, be responsible for yourself. I'm not a big fan of Christianity, okay? Because I grew up Democrat and all that stuff. But I think, Kanye's being brave right now, and he's doing something that takes a lot of boldness. But this is going to have a huge impact, a huge impact going into politics. Check this out. This is from NBC News. Kanye West's new album, Jesus is King, wants to make faith a pop culture force. It is not hyperbole to call West a genius. With his Sunday services and Jesus is King, West is once again testing the boundaries of his talent. And when he started doing these Sunday services, I said I have tremendous respect for what he's doing, because it used to be the norm in this country that you were a Christian. Not so much anymore, okay? It kind of is, but we're seeing this. Check this out. In U.S., decline of Christianity continues at a rapid pace. An update on America's changing religious landscape. I think too many people focus on the negatives and ignore the positives. When I was younger, when I was in grade school, I was Christian. I was Catholic. And then once I got a little older, 12 or 13, I went to public school, and then just kind of got away from all of that. Immediately was exposed to this world outside of religion and said, hey, I became very far left, kind of angry. And then I met someone who kind of gave me this formative moment. It was a punk rock secular type who said the story of Jesus was a cool story. It was just a guy who traveled around trying to help people. And he's like, when you get rid of everything else, you got a good story there, we should be nice to each other. And that made me realize I made a bunch of assumptions about religion. Made me a bit more moderate. And what I started to realize as I got older is, the truth is, there's a lot of really important things within religion, and many of them. As the Ancient One said in the Doctor Strange film, when looking at these books, everybody is seeing a part of the picture, but not the whole. I think the important thing we can do as a culture is recognize a lot of really important ideas came out of religion, and a lot of bad ideas did too, and we've done a really good job of reforming and getting rid of the bad ideas. And now we're at a point where we've retained mostly the good ones. And I'll give you one specific example that I love, and it's Blackstone's formulation. Many people, this is the idea that it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. It is the basis of our innocent until proven guilty legal system. And many people believe it dates back to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, the story of Lot, that God would not destroy these towns if but one righteous person was among them. Admittedly, there's a bunch of bad ideas. But through this, we've kept many of the good ones. Okay, so there were ideas in the past, and I'm glad they exist today. But I think many people in this country assume only the worst about religions, and they say get rid of all of it simply because it has bad ideas. I say, whoa, slow down a bit. I used to think that too until I met some people who told me some really interesting things, and there are some good ideas that need to be protected that exist within this. It's not black or white. Kanye West has done something pretty crazy. Check out this story. In May, Sia, the uber-talented but famously enigmatic pop singer and songwriter, walked on stage wearing a hoodie and no makeup and belted out a gospel rendition of her hit, Elastic Heart. The seemingly impromptu performance was backed by a gospel choir and was incredibly powerful. The performance was tweeted by Kim Kardashian West, who said, "There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The setting, an early iteration of Kanye West's Sunday service." And I gotta admit, this tweet is beautiful. The people singing, there's unity, it's positive. Sia is a pop singer. I actually really love the song Elastic Heart. To see this, it actually makes me feel really good because it's a positive thing, not a negative thing. And I think if more people can come together like this to see these celebrities now meeting in a church group, I actually really like that idea. There's a complicated relationship between the left and the right when it comes to religion. But I think if we just try and talk about not hating each other and talk about, what I was saying, the story of Jesus being a dude who wanted to love everybody and bring people together, man, you got a great story. And in fact, many people on the left like to cite Jesus as an example of why the corporatist Republicans are bad. And I'm like, it is easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. I believe there's a lot of really interesting points in religion the left could actually get behind. I'm not saying religion should be the uniting factor, but I do want to point out that I think it is good that most of us simmer down to the best of our abilities. And I hope seeing these pop stars, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Sia, come together with a church group can bring people together so we're not just assuming there's an other who hates us because we're focusing on the negative all the time. But more importantly than this, so the reason I highlight this is because you have celebrities now with Kanye West, okay? Think about this. It's not just Kanye West coming out as a Trump supporter and doing these Sunday services. It is Sia. Now, of course, you got Kim Kardashian. She's married to Kanye West, and her family, they're gonna come out in this way. But now having Sia as well, this is back in May. I think, don't be surprised if you see many more celebrities start talking about faith and start being open about how they really feel and sort of showing us a crack in that foundation of this system where people are scared to speak up. In a really interesting article in Vice. So I do want to highlight this, right? The reason I highlighted the Pew thing is that Christianity is on a rapid decline. I think Kanye West might reignite this. I mean, people look up to that dude, right? Check this out. A story from Vice asks about Kanye West, him being, Christian now. And there's a quote from a faith leader who says this: "If you want to do anything with black people in this country, you still have to go to or go through a black church." Dr. J. Paul Hines, an assistant professor at Princeton Theological Seminary, tells Vice, "The political election season is warming up again, and you're going to see politicians in the churches again because it's the main avenue by which you reach the African American community." Bill Maher the other day did a segment where he pleaded with Democrats not to go crazy. In it, he said Beto O'Rourke wants to tax the church if they don't agree to perform same-sex marriages. What Bill Maher said was he also wants to tax churches, but he's not running for president. And he said, for Beto, do you think that's going to go over well in a black church? And the answer, well, I'm not going to tell you what the answer is, but that's Bill Maher's point. But here we can see from a Princeton professor, if you want to do anything with black people in this country, you still have to go to or through a black church. Kanye West is sort of dominating this space. Not only is he saying it's a joke that he's wearing that MAGA cap, all in for Trump, he's now hosting Sunday services. I got a lot of respect for him because while I think there are a lot of bad ideas in religion that I'm scared by, I think for a lot of communities that have no leadership, like my community, and I'm not talking about racial communities. I was in a mixed neighborhood. We could really use leaders of any sort to come in and say, be responsible, be respectful, do good, and preach good. There are a lot of bad people who take religion to dark places, and we've seen it around the world, and it's scary. We got to push back on the bad ideas. And we can't just say literally every idea is bad. Not every iteration of every idea is bad. And that goes for social justice too. This idea that we can create a more equitable and equal future, it's possible and it exists, but there are bad people who are at the reins. And they're pushing forth this fake version of what we're truly talking about. When we talk about equality and social justice, we're really just talking about justice and equal rights and opportunity. Instead, you have people who are pushing cancel culture, who are telling you to bend the knee, and then they smeared Kanye West like crazy for coming out and talking about how he supported the president. But listen, it is not just that Kanye West is doing this religious stuff. He's going to make Yeezys in America. This dude, I don't know what happened with Kanye West. It must have been Candace Owens, maybe. He put out that tweet one time where he said he loves what she's saying. And I do respect a lot of what Candace Owens says. Granted, I've directly criticized her in full segments where I talked about, she mentioned something about burning the flag, and I totally disagree. But I think she makes a really good point that I empathize with. When, she as a black woman feels from these progressives, they're telling her what she can or can't do. I don't have the same level of, bigotry or whatever pointed at me, because I will totally accept that some people might just think I'm straight white. A lot of people don't. But what bothers me is when I'm told by the wealthy white progressives how I'm supposed to feel and how I'm supposed to behave. And my response is, who are you to tell me? You don't know what my life was like. And I can only imagine it is substantially more extreme for Kanye and for Candace Owens, because they're straight up not white, right? So to clarify the idea of passing, yeah, some people might look at me and say, this guy's white. A lot of people don't. So I have this mixed experience, and I'm sick and tired of being told what I'm supposed to do, who I'm supposed to support, and then being insulted simply because I tell you can't control me. And that's what Kanye West is saying. And that, to me, that means a lot. I'm grateful to see somebody saying something like that, though we disagree politically, right? I agree with making stuff in the US, though. So this is huge. Kanye West, whether or not he's the greatest artist of all time, he's got 30 million followers. Check this out. He's got this tweet. Jesus is king is the tweet, midnight. And it says, every hour, Salah, follow God, closed on Sunday on God, everything we need, water, God is, hands on, use the gospel, Jesus is Lord. These are the songs. Jesus is Lord is one of the songs. The album is called Jesus is King. It's got 75,000 retweets. Only 10,000 replies. Dude, people love this guy. He's got nearly 29.2 million followers. How many of those people do you think are secular? Well, if we go by the Pew data, 30 or so percent, maybe a little less, 35% maybe. These are people who are uninitiated, don't know a whole lot, but respect Kanye, are going to follow that. That's going to have a huge impact. And then when Kanye comes out and says, bring the industry back to the US for his Yeezys, man, that's huge. And that's a conservative Trump kind of narrative. So Kanye was really inspired by Trump, and I got to say, this is good. I'm not gonna talk about whether or not everyone should or shouldn't be Christian, or whether or not it's good. I'm not going to tell you that I think it's good or bad that Kanye West is preaching religion. That's on him. That's on you guys. I fully respect your right to believe whatever your religion and to practice, but I will stress that Kanye West is he's probably going to shift that trend around and and convert many, many people. Possibly one of the most powerful preachers on the planet today, Kanye West. But it's not just that. He's bringing it back to the United States. Check this out. They say, with the release of Jesus is King, less than 12 hours away, Kanye West is making the promo rounds, which included a visit with Zane Lowe in Wyoming this week. Currently premiering on Beats One Radio, the interview has thus far seen West share his views on everything from banning premarital lovemaking amongst those who worked on the new album to his journey from purveyor of high fashion to one of Christianity. He also touched on Yeezy footwear and apparel manufacturing and why moving production to America is a priority. He said, for me, as a founder, it's really important to bring these jobs back to America. West said, within the next 2 years, he plans to make Yeezys and injection molded shoes in U.S. factories, as well as hire workers through prison reform systems. One of the things that I agree with Kanye on is prison reform. I think we need more criminal justice reform. I am not a fan of private prisons. I'm willing to listen to arguments, but as of now, I'm very opposed to them. And I think we need a total reform of the system. So I'm with Kanye on that one. I'm with Kanye on doing these factories here in the U.S. Right now, what we're seeing with Kanye West and the moves he's making, they're all positive ones. Having Sia sing a song, there's nothing negative there. That's happy. That's bringing people together. That's community building. Launching production in the United States, amazing. It's going to be great for the economy. It's going to be good for America. So right now, I want to make sure we make this clear. There are good and bad things about every idea, okay? And you can rag on Kanye, you can call him crazy, you can say whatever you want, but what he's doing right now isn't hurting people. What he's doing right now has been positive. And so I'm down with that. That's great. Right on, man. Do your thing. I respect tremendously that Kanye is willing to stand up for what he believes in. Say, if I want to do this, I can do it. You can't stop me. I'm like, right on, man. If you want to have a church service, yeah, man, go do it. And I want to make sure you can do it safely. I want to make sure all of your friends can come and you can sing and you can talk about, for the most part, whatever you want to talk about. I believe in free speech, freedom of religion, and even sometimes for ideas I don't like. Now, I'll be real, right? There are a lot of groups that I really, really, really don't like. You know who I'm talking about, okay? Well, they have a right to free speech too, and I don't want to be there in any way for them, but they do have a right to go and speak. and do their thing, fine. You go do it over there, I'll avoid you. What Kanye is doing is nowhere near that. And in fact, a lot of what Kanye is saying, especially this article right here, I'm totally down with. In which case, I really like the idea that he's bringing people together, and I hope what he does has a bigger, more positive impact on this country. Now, I'm going to cite one last thing, because what I'm talking about here is Kanye West being an ace in the hole for conservatives. Rasmussen is typically considered biased in favor of Trump, but they say in August, Trump's support up this week among black voters. Whether or not you trust Rasmussen, Zogby said something similar. A lot of people are saying it's not true. The left counters this point. It's fine. Ignore this then. Ignore Rasmussen. What do you think's going to happen when Kanye West comes out and says, go vote for Trump? There are going to be a lot of people, a lot of people in the black community who probably didn't vote before, who are going to be like, yo, Kanye's the man. And they'll go do it. There are a lot of people who don't like Kanye, don't like Trump, and I respect their opinions as well. I'm just trying to highlight the influence of Kanye West. This is going to be huge, man. It already is. And I got to end just by pointing out this. This is hilarious. I'm sorry. It's funny. Okay, I think you guys know this is funny too. That he said he's the greatest artist in human existence. So putting on a red hat was God's practical joke on all liberals. No, not Kanye. It's funny, man. Listen, I think I'm down to be friends, with a lot of people. A lot of people I disagree with, or I should say friendly. I'm not going to hang out with with these people. I'm not going to hang out with Kanye West, but I got no problem shaking his hand and saying, I respect you standing up for what you believe in, and I'll see you at the ballot box. We'll see what happens. Final thought to wrap all this up: if you thought Trump was going to win just based off of economics, you got to factor in this rising pop culture Christianity. Starting factories in the U.S., creating his gear. Kanye West is doing what many conservatives have talked about for the past few months about creating culture. Kanye West does that. Well, congratulations. One of the most prolific, famous, and liked entertainers in the world is on the conservative side now. And it's opening the door for other people to come out. This might be taken over. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you didn't. And I will see you all in the next video.